Hello, and welcome to the Making Sure Your Content is Accessible professional development session. My name is Ashley Thomas, and I am the presenter for this session. I have been the Assistive Technology Specialist at Northampton Area School District for the past 11 years, and I work collaboratively between the special education and technology departments. I'm a Google certified educator and also a CAMI certified educator. So, what does it mean to make sure that your content is accessible? Accessible content essentially means that your content is created with certain criteria, which results in a wider audience being able to access it with or without additional accessibility or assistive technology tools. Many of you have taken my previous professional development sessions where we talked about the amazing built-in Google and Chromebook accessibility tools, which are fantastic, and they do help out a lot of students, users, staff members. But this course is going to take it a step further, and we're going to try to build in some of the accessibility from the design of the content you're creating so that students, teachers, anybody has an easier time of being able to access that content. It also means taking certain steps to ensure that your content is designed accessible from the start. A quote I like to refer to is accessibility is all about our ability to engage with, use, participate in, and belong to the world around us. Every unique individual is different um, from one another. So we all have different needs, and by being able to make sure that we do our part in making the content that we create a little more accessible to all users. Why is it important to make sure that your content is accessible? Well, just because your content is electronic doesn't mean it's automatically accessible. In the past, when we relied a lot more on pen and paper, obviously our content wasn't very accessible to a lot of diverse learners or learners who preferred content in a different fashion. And again, we've come a long way now in the fact that a lot of our stuff is available electronically. There are a ton of different accessibility features, programs, extensions, and apps that make it a lot easier for your content to be viewable. But just because it's electronic doesn't mean that it's automatically accessible. Some of these electronic resources are still inaccessible to people with disabilities. The content that you create needs to accommodate both seen and unseen disabilities using assistive technology through the inherency of your content design or both. Some of the different methods I'm going to show you to kind of make sure that your content is accessible by design, it might eliminate the need for a student or another staff member to use assistive technology to access that specific image, document, video. But again, it also might make it so that they're able to access it in general using their assistive technology or their different programs. The content you create may need to be viewed by a wide audience, including but definitely not limited to students in your class, other staff members, parents. Now that we are in the world of, you know, pandemic, we see a lot more involvement with parents trying to help their children with their schoolwork. So again, not only do we need to make sure that the content is accessible to our students, but it also needs to be accessible if needed by the parents. If you're posting content that goes out on, a classroom website or Schoology portal or wherever you're posting it and the community might see it, you need to make sure that that content is going to be able to be accessed by the diverse needs of the community members. Just a couple more reasons why it's important for your stuff to be accessible. Um, Planning for accessible access as the resources are being developed. This makes things a lot easier, not only on yourself, because you don't have to stop and backtrack and try to figure out spur of the moment how to make those resources accessible to, say, a student who has a 504 plan and requires all of your videos to be captioned. If you did it preemptively and from the beginning and across the board, that's going to be something that it's already checked off. And not only will you be good, your student will be good. Universal access. So essentially, when design decisions are made to ensure that these electronic resources are accessible to people with a wide range of abilities, disabilities, and other characteristics, this process is called universal design, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. Universal design for learning, same type of concept. By creating things in in a way that has a broader audience in mind, you're going to be able to reach a lot more people. Um, Again, like I said, accessible to a broad audience. When you consider the wide range of characteristics of potential visitors to your content, um, you're able to think about the broader audience that's going to possibly view your content. People who have situational limitations also benefit. Um, they may have limitations that are similar to those that are imposed by disabilities. And again, they will benefit as well to your resources being accessible by design. We're going to start off with some principles of accessible design. So, we're going to talk about POUR. And POUR is an acronym for 4 high-level principles that describe functional accessibility. And those 4 high-level principles are perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And here on this Google slide, I have, just some of the ways under each principle that it's important to, make sure you do these certain things to make sure that your stuff is accessible. And we're going to go through in some further slides, kind of expand on these things a little bit and give you some examples. So again, for perceivable, text text alternatives for no text content, captions and other alternatives for multimedia. Content is easier to see and hear. For operable, functionality is available from a keyboard. Content does not cause seizures and physical reactions. There's a lot of content out there that may look great, or say you're playing a video and there is a lot of flashing or strobe lights. Those could be harmful to some individuals who view them. So it's always best to either, provide a warning or refrain from using those types of videos. Users can easily navigate, find content, and determine where they are in terms of where they are within that document or that resource. Um, is it understandable? The text is readable and understandable. And robust. The content is compatible with current and future user tools. So again, people who use different assistive technology products, are you creating your content in a way that will be able to be used by those current tools that are out there or future tools that may be implemented. All right, so we're going to jump right in. Again, here are some ways to increase the accessibility of content: providing equal and alternative text, caption and or provide transcripts for media, using camel case for hashtags, creating logical document structure, writing links that make sense out of context, navigating only using the keyboard, and ensuring the accessibility of PDF, Word, PowerPoint, and other non HTML content, and then making sure your content is well written and easy to read. So, what we're going to do is, I'm sure this might be a little overwhelming. So, throughout the rest of the presentation, I'm going to go through each of these and give you guys some examples, kind of what it looks like, and how you can accomplish this. And just note that this list here does not contain all of the principles of accessible design. It only covers the ones we're going to be discussing today. Okay, adding alternative or alt text to your photos. A lot of the times you're going to hear it referred to as alt text. Essentially, what alt text is, it's meant to describe the why of the image. Your descriptions that you're going to input for alt text should be concise and only focus on information in the image. What alt text does is screen reader programs will read this information aloud to users. So again, if you have a person who is visually impaired and they can't see that image on the screen reader program is going to look to see if there's any alt text. And if there isn't, essentially what's going to happen is all your visually impaired user is going to hear for that image is the word image. So they are going to completely lose out on, that opportunity of learning what's in the image. And again, a lot of times their important information is conveyed in images. So we want to make sure that, we add the alt text so that all users are able to understand what it is. And also, this alt text displays on the page if an image fails to load, which again, that's helpful for anybody. So if you go onto a website that had an image and for some reason, you get that broken image picture, you'll have a description of what that image was supposed to be. My graphic right over here is essentially, again, in a image or video format, it's showing us what an alt text does. So here's our image right here. This would be our image. And essentially, your screen reading program is saying, I'm a horse eating cereal. And your user is saying, that's cool. So simple as that. Here's how we add alt text to images. Again, it depends on the program or where you're using your images. But overall, it's a fairly quick and simple process. So again, what I did here is I linked, because obviously this is geared towards, education and whatnot, but I also think that it's important to be consistent. So, if you have social media for anything, whether it's school related or, personally related, I linked how you can add alt text to any images that you upload to these platforms. Because again, you could have, a friend or a follower who depends on this type of stuff, and, a simple little action by you can make all of the difference to them. So again, for example, so in Google Slides or Google Docs, if you have an image in those programs, all you have to do is you right click on the image and then select alt text from the menu. You type in your description and you click OK. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to practice with this image. I did not add alt text to it yet. So again, we have our image. I'm going to right click on it and it pops up our menu. And I'm going to click alt text. And again, you want to be clear and concise of in explaining what the image is. So again, we're going to go down here to description and we're going to type in dog sunbathing in rock pile. And then we're going to click OK. And now again, you don't see that we added the alt text. It's an invisible in the background kind of thing. And again, if you want to verify that it's there, you can right click back on it, go back to our alt text, and we have our description here. All right. The thing that a lot of people get hung up on is thinking of what to write for the alt text. I believe I linked a resource in one of the ends of the end of this presentation in one of the last slides that actually gives you some practice on creating appropriate alt text. All right. So again, if you're ever unsure of how to add alt text to something or anything that I explain in this presentation, try Googling it. So for example, you want to figure out how you can add alt text in Google Slides. Again, go to Google, type in Google Slides alt text, or we're going to hit on explaining closed captions here in a little bit. So again, Edpuzzle, closed captions. And you'll probably find a bunch of resources that are going to be able to walk you through to, number one, see if that feature exists within a program and how to do it. One last thing is images should not contain text unless absolutely necessary. So say you do create an image that you're going to use in a presentation or you found an image online. If that image is just filled with text, essentially all text used in that image must also be included in the image's alt text. So if you go to create something and it has a bunch of words in it, try considering uh, putting it in a different format instead of in an image. All right, so now we're going to talk about video content and the importance of providing captions. So I just want to play this quick little video here. I follow a lot of accessibility people on TikTok, Instagram, all those things. All right, so that video, again, a simple thing, it just said there was no audio in that video, but it basically just said, caption your videos. That is actually a teacher that I follow on TikTok. So captions make videos accessible to learners who are deaf or hard of hearing, learning a second language, developing their literacy skills, or if the individual is accessing a video with poor sound quality, or even if you're in a loud environment. Um, I personally, if I'm somewhere and I have, some downtime and I want to watch a video, I'll turn the sound down and I'll just focus on the captions. So captions really are a fantastic thing for anybody. What I want you to do sometime is try playing a video with the sound all the way off. No subtitles, no closed captions, and just see how difficult or impossible it is to try to understand what's being said. So just think about that. So we have, students who have central auditory processing disorder, again, or deaf or hard of hearing. If we're providing this type of media to them, that again relies heavily on, you know, spoken language, we need to make sure we're providing, an alternative so that they can also access this content. So one fairly easy way to caption your videos. I know a lot of our teachers use either Screencastify or Loom to make your videos, whether it's just like a daily little recap video or a video with instructions for a lesson. Um, what you can do is after you make that video, you can get into the habit of uploading them to YouTube. You can sign into YouTube with your school Google account, and then you just create a little channel. And after you do that, you're able to upload your videos to YouTube, and YouTube will auto caption them for you, which is fantastic. It's free. Um, it puts those closed captions on any and all videos that you upload. One thing to note, though, again, the quality of auto captioning, it can vary. So you're going to want to make sure to go back and check um, in the transcript of those captions, or again, watch that video again to see if you need to go in and manually tweak anything, if it needs to be, revised. Here's a thing that's also important to note is it may take anywhere from a few moments. I've seen, or up to 24 hours for your closed captions to appear on the video, depending on the size of your video and other extraneous factors. So again, doing this last minute in the morning before you're going to send the videos to your students, or post them somewhere, it's probably not the best idea. So if you can get into the habit of possibly doing it a little bit ahead of time, that would be best, just so you don't run into any issues. Now again, if you share a link with your students for that video, it will eventually show up for them, but again, they could have already moved on past that and not had the captions when they needed it. Now, if you're getting video content from other sources, say you're going on YouTube and searching for content, or you're going, somewhere else to get it, you're going to want to make sure to try and only use the content that is already closed captioned. And then again, if you're posting or creating videos on social media, such as Instagram or TikTok or whatever, they have made such headway in making sure that the people on their platform are able to access videos. So I included some links here on how you can turn on auto captions for the videos that you upload to make them more accessible. Also, again, you'll have access to these slides. This video shows you kind of how to activate the automatic captions in YouTube, and then also edit them. Because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go and turn them on. And then once you do that, any video you upload will be auto captioned. All right, providing audio for text. So essentially, you have a bunch of text. What if you want to provide that to a student in an audio only format, as an additional way to get the information? Because again, sometimes individuals learn better whether they just listen to the audio or they read the audio silently or out loud. But again, you can provide an option where you can create an MP3 audio file so that students have the option to listen to the text. One way to do that is using Read and Write for Google Chrome's Audio Maker feature. And Read and Write for Google Chrome is an extension that you can install. It's approved in our district. And what's amazing is that the premium version is completely free for teachers. So you can have access to all of the different features that Read and Write extension has. So what you would do, again, if you're interested in possibly doing this, do a Google search, YouTube search, or reach out to me, and I'd be glad to show you guys how to do that. Or what about providing audio alongside with your text? In the past, I've had a bunch of teachers ask, well, a lot of my students need information read to them, by a staff member or otherwise. if you use Google Forms, say for a quiz or, for whatever purpose with your students, you can use the free Mote extension to add audio for all of your text in Google Forms. So, say you have a question that says, "What day is today?" That's going to be your question. And then your answers are going to be A, Monday, B, Tuesday, C, Friday. With Mote, you'd be able to easily say exactly what I just said. And then when the students are viewing the questions, they'd be able to press the play button, stay right in that Google form. And again, it's going to read essentially everything that's on that page for them. So that's a pretty neat feature to use. If you're interested, reach out. I can show you how it works. Mote does also work in a bunch of other Google products that we use, so that you can add little audio files for text content or other things. Hashtags. I know a bunch of our staff here, we have professional Twitter accounts, or again, if you have a personal Twitter account or Instagram or wherever, and you like to use hashtags, I highly recommend that you use the camel case format. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you here in a second the difference again, this looks very similar, right? Hashtag I like learning, and then hashtag I like learning, right? So I'm going to show you the difference. And then again, for concrete kids and then concrete kids, I'm going to show you what it would sound like to an individual who is using text to speech. All right, so what I'm going to do is for this one, I'm just using my read and write extension here. And I'm going to highlight our first one. And I'm going to press play.
Hashtags. I like learning. I like learning. Concrete kids. Concrete kids. To listen to the difference in the hash.
So obviously, the ones where we just had all of the text lowercase and we didn't differentiate between our words, because again, hashtags, all the words are together, they're kind of mushed. The text to speech program didn't understand that this was I like learning. But when I formatted it with the word I, capital, and then like, capital L, and then learning, capital L again, it was able to differentiate. Same with concrete kids. So camel case is essentially each individual word that you're putting in a hashtag, you are capitalizing the first letter. So again, let's say hashtag learning is awesome. You'd have a capital L in there, capital I, and then a capital A. So learning is awesome. And I'm just going to show you a video here. This is another TikTok page that I follow. This is actually Tech Owl PA. They are a great resource to follow. So we'll just play this here.
Hey, it's Alana at Tech Owl, and here's your accessibility tip of the day. When you're using hashtags, it's better to use camel case, meaning that the first letter of every word is capitalized. It helps people who are using screen readers to access the internet because it will sound like this.
Nice and clear.
Instead of it sounding like this.
Not Nassim clear.
So again, I think this is just a super simple, easy thing to kind of get into the habit of doing that might make all the difference for somebody who's using something like text to speech.
Hey, it's Alana at Tech Owl, and here's your
next thing, creating logical document structure. It's important to provide a clear structure for documents with headings. Utilize a table of contents, and break up your long documents into sections. So essentially, once you create a table of contents with headings and the proper structure, You can quickly select a link in this table of contents, and your learners can quickly skip to any section in the document. Again, and having a document organized in such a manner, it makes it more visually appealing. It's not as hard to read and see, okay, where do I need to go? Where do my topics change? So just creating that logical document structure is another super simple thing that you guys can do. Is your content accessible using only the keyboard? I want you guys just one time, try to navigate a website or a document only using the tab key on your keyboard. Or again, if you want to navigate in reverse, once you start tabbing, you can press the shift and tab keys together. Essentially, when you're doing this, it should be clear which element has focus. So once you're hitting the tab key, you should see which item is being selected each time you hit the tab key, and it should move around the content in a logical manner, from left to right. And then when you get all the way to the right, it's going to drop back down, and keep going in a way that makes sense. Consider these things when finding websites for your students to use, or web-based programs that you're looking to purchase for use. What we're going to do is we're going to try it out on the new NASD schools website. Okay, we're going to give that a second to load. All right, so again, I am only going to use the tab key on my keyboard, so I'm going to press tab. And again, up at my left, it's saying skip to content, so I'm going to tab again. And now, as you can see, we have the blue rectangle style box around NASD Schoology. I'm going to tab again. And again, here we are. And what I'm going to do, we're going to tab again. We're going to go to menu. And now what I'm going to do, so I tab to menu. I'm going to press enter. And it's going to bring up my menu. We're going to tab again. We're going to press enter. So again, I think our new website does a pretty fantastic job of, being accessible only via keyboard. We'll go back to our presentation. Ensuring linked text makes sense on its own. So I know a lot of us, will say, click here, and then, where the word here is, we link whatever document or, resource that we're trying to get somebody to see. Avoid using click here or other ambiguous link text like click here. So here's a bad example. Click here to access the daily schedule. Good. View your daily schedule. And as you can see, I have daily schedule is what my linked text is. So if I clicked on daily schedule, it's going to take them to their daily schedule. So your viewer who uses a screen reader program, they might not be able to determine what the here link is referring to. Another thing that is good to get into the habit of doing is provide your links linked to text instead of providing a long URL. So for example, if there's something that I need to purchase assistive technology wise, in the past when I didn't know better, I would just, copy that whole long, messy Amazon link to, say, large print keyboard stickers, and I'd email it off to our secretary. Now what I do is I say, please purchase these large print keyboard stickers. And for large print keyboard stickers, I'll highlight that text, I'll press link, and then I'll, copy in that long URL so that, number one, it looks smoother, clearer, and it gets us to where we need to go as well. So that's something that, you can change to make things a little more accessible. Next, we're going to just discuss accessible versus inaccessible PDFs. How do I know if my PDFs are accessible? A quick and easy way to test this is, are you able to select and highlight any text on that PDF? If your answer is yes, it leans towards being accessible. I'm not going to say it's fully accessible, but you're definitely on your way. And more than more times than not, you don't have to do anything else at that point. But if you are not able to select and highlight any text on that PDF, I'm going to say that no, your PDF is essentially an image, and an image doesn't have any readable text, by the assistive technology tools or accessibility features. Um, when you scan in, say, a paper copy of a document from a copier, that document is going to be not accessible. So what you're going to have to do is, and again, you only have to do this once. If you scan in, say, a story about Christopher Columbus, and you have it in a paper copy only, but you want your students to now have it electronically. You go to the copier, you scan it in, you realize, oh, I cannot select and highlight any text. So, my students who need text to speech aren't going to be able to utilize that on this PDF. What you can do is, we have Cami available in the district. Cami has it's an OCR feature. OCR stands for optical character recognition. So if you go and open that inaccessible PDF in Cami, go into the settings and run the OCR on that document, you will then see that you are able to select and highlight text on that PDF. And then again, resave it to Google Drive, like overwrite that inaccessible one, and you're good to go. So I'll just show you guys real quick. Here's one that I had scanned in from a copier in my office. And again, I cannot select anything. So if I wanted, my accessibility tool to read this to me, it's not going to be able to. But if I go over to Cami and we're going to put it in here. Oh, I thought I had it over here. Here we go. We'll put it here. We'll give that a second to open. So again, here it is. And then if we go over to our menu, we go to OCR for scanned documents, and down here, middle of the screen where it says running OCR. Again, the time that takes depends on how large your document is, how many pages it has. But it runs fairly quickly. It's almost done. And then again, it says OCR complete. It lets you know that. And again, here we go. So now I can highlight my text. I'll just come over here. And that will be able to be accessible to students who want to use speech to text to be able to listen to the text. All right, making sure your content is readable. Think about your font choice and size. So over here, again, we have, this font right here. This font is obviously easy to read. This font is hard to read. I am a sucker for a fancy font and, making it look nice. You could still make your documents look nice, but try to, again, number one, think of your audience. In the younger grades, these kids are just learning to recognize letters. So if you deviate from, fonts that have letters that they recognize, they might have a hard time trying to read what is on the screen. Or again, the fancier fonts in some form of cursive. I know my husband, every time I try to make a beautiful, DIY craft sign and it has, amazing, intricate cursive, he always looks at me and he says, I can't read that. It's just, not readable to everybody. Again, and then your color choice and contrast. If you look over here on our graphic over here on the left, again, most likely you can read both of them. But the one on the left, the difference between the background text color and the text color, it's not the best. But then the one on the right, again, you can clearly see the background and foreground. Your font types, styles, size, and color, they can negatively affect legibility and readability if not used correctly or consistently on a page. So that's just something to think about. Um, Adding color and format can also affect the clarity of your text. Try and limit the use of multiple colors and text formats like italicizing. I know a lot of us use that to try to, make a point. Um, but if you limit those things, it will allow students with, dyslexia or visual impairments to be able to interpret the actual information on the page more easily instead of getting lost in, you know, the the stuff that ends up not mattering. Um, and again, over here where our text has low contrast, it's going to cause your learners or your viewers to strain to read the content, especially if they're under the glare of bright lighting. Again, or if say your screen isn't the greatest screen, it makes it hard sometimes to be able to see colors. With the good contrast on the right, your learners can focus their energies on gaining a better understanding of the information. Now, I'm sure that was a lot of information. First thing, breathe. um, I recommend just start trying to make your content from here on out accessible. And again, you don't have to do everything all at once. If you find yourself remembering, okay, listen, I know I'm going to start to add alt text to all of my images. Great. If you make a ton of video content, and you want to focus on making your videos from here on out, closed caption, that's fantastic. Um, don't focus on the past right now. If you do have time to upgrade your older content, that is if you might be reusing it in the future to be accessible, that is fantastic. But again, one document at a time, one video at a time, one image at a time. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you want me to walk you through any more of this, or if you just need some help on getting started, or if you have any questions. The more you do these things, the more second nature it will become. So it won't feel like a completely separate and additional task to the ever growing list of tasks you guys already have to do. The next couple of slides are just for your reference about, uh, do's and don'ts on designing for specific types of users. So again, you guys can look at those if you want. You can pull back up the slide presentation. I'm leaving you guys with some resources, additional resources regarding accessible content. A great one to go to is the AIM Center. This is the Accessible Electronic Materials Center. It used to be called AIM, but now it's AEM. Used to be AIM, now it's AEM. Again, here's some other different resources. If you guys like to listen to podcasts and you want to learn more about accessibility, there's a great list right here. This accessibility choice board is a pretty cool activity. If it didn't take up all of our 1 hour of time, you can always go through this and kind of see, check some of your own content and see if things are accessible. If you start here and it gives you access to the first chapter of the Designing Digital Content for All Learners book. It's a great book. And that will help you kind of go through these different activities. So I definitely suggest checking that out. We'll go back. And then if you want to dive deeper at a later point in time, here's a couple different professional development sessions that I've gotten from different resources, and I've watched them myself. Again, some of them they're about 40 minutes to an hour. Some of the stuff's a little shorter, but they're all fantastic, and it'll just help you kind of, get a little bit more deeper understanding and hopefully continue to create accessible content.
Welcome to Creating Accessible Content.
Of course, I made them all play on a click. Let's see if we can get through to the next slide.
With this module,
Okay. I just wanted to say again, thank you guys for hanging out with me today virtually and listening to this session. Don't forget to complete your attendance sheet so that you get we record your participation for the session. I have it linked to places here. It's right here, and then it's also right here on the my Bitmoji holding the laptop on that screen. If you click on that, it'll take you to the attendance sheet. My email's down here if you guys want to, shoot me an email with any questions or anything. Also, I have a Twitter if you want to follow me. It is at AT4NASD. I try to post, again, a bunch of different accessibility content. So if there's anything new that I ever find out, I, kind of just throw that on there or retweet a really great technology related post. So, all right, that's all that I have. So I hope you enjoyed the session and enjoy the rest of your day of professional development.